So I have the top of the hour, and we're going to get started with WordPower Español for Saltillo and TouchChat app 2020. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Lisa Tim, and I am the manager of PRC Saltillo Training and Implementation, and I will be monitoring the chat window for today. We are here with Nancy Inman and Pam Corley, and we are honored to present this webinar for you today. So we are on to the best part. We get to tell you about our presenters. So I'm honored to tell you about both Nancy Inman and Pam Corley. Nancy Inman is a practicing speech-language pathologist specializing in assistive technology. She is the author of WordPower vocabularies found on several platforms. Her clinical background includes working with children and adults in an outpatient clinic in Fort Worth, Texas for 10 years, as well as serving as a teacher in a preschool classroom for children with various communication disorders. She's served as the program manager for the Assistive Technology Department at Kennedy Krieger Institute in Baltimore for 15 years. She's now in private practice in Maryland, mostly working with children and adults with severe communication disabilities and requiring augmentative communication support. She has also created the Flip and Talk manual-based AAC communication system. She has received her bachelor's degree at University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and her master's in speech-language pathology at Indiana University in Bloomington. She receives a royalty on the sale of WordPower from PRC Saltillo. Pam Corley is a parent of a son with complex communication needs. Pam was a Microsoft certified system engineer, instructor, and network administrator. She taught networking courses at education centers around the country, as well as at Kingwood College near Houston, Texas. When her son was born, she focused her technical skills on augmentative communication solutions for him, and she found that WordPower vocabularies were the best fit for him. She has been working and presenting with Nancy Inman for over 10 years. She is bilingual in English and Spanish and collaborated with Nancy on the Spanish WordPower vocabularies. She received her BA in Communication Studies from the University of Tennessee. Pam is receiving a speaker fee from PRC Saltillo for this presentation. And with that, then I'm going to turn it over to Nancy and Pam to get started. So thanks for joining us, and thank you, Pam and Nancy.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate Lisa's help and support for this whole thing. So Pam and I are going to be talking about the WordPower Español vocabularies, but we're just going to do a little bit of background about all of the WordPower vocabularies that have been done for the Saltillo platforms. And so the Saltillo platforms are the NovaChat, which is what I'm going to be doing most of the presentation on today, and the Chat Fusion, and then the TouchChat app. And right now there are 14 vocabularies. There are English vocabularies, 3 Spanish vocabularies, and I'm working hard to finish up a French version. So hopefully the French version will be released sometime in the next couple of months. So Pam is going to talk a little bit about why we decided to do Spanish WordPower and some of the issues and challenges that came up as we were working on this project. So Pam?
Oh, sorry, I'm unmuted now. I'm sorry, I was muted. Yes, so there have been many requests for WordPower in Spanish, and wow, when we did the research on it, we saw why. It's the 4th most commonly spoken language in the world. Even more surprising to us was the fact that the United States has the 2nd largest number of Spanish speakers in the world after Mexico. Nancy, there we go. All right. So looking at these numbers, of course we knew we needed WordPower in Espanol. Now the goals of Spanish WordPower are the same as those of WordPower in English: to design intuitive, easy to use, generative AAC vocabularies that meet the communication needs of a wide variety of individuals, from beginning communicators all the way up to individuals whose linguistic and cognitive abilities are intact. Now, to accomplish this, 3 different vocabularies were created. First, the 48 Español. This is the vocabulary designed for people with intact cognitive and linguistic abilities. Just to show you how comprehensive it is, in the testing phase of the development of this vocabulary, I actually went through the entire Rosetta Stone language learning program to make sure that we could generate all of the sentences that they taught in that program. And I'm happy to say that it passed with flying colors. Now, I'll explain the differences in greater detail between these vocabularies later on. The next one was 48 Básico. This one was developed with early language learners in mind. When we finished, we were very proud of that vocabulary and we thought we were done. But then Nancy created WordPower 60 Basic in English with some great new features like support for early books, and my favorite, she added core vocabulary in groups, which allows easy generation of language not only from the main page, but also within specific topic-based pages. So what happened was the school districts, SLPs, and families loved WordPower 60 Basic in English. So they said, hey, what about our ESL students? They were switching between 60 Basic in English and 48 Básico in Spanish, and it was very cumbersome, especially for those students who needed key guards. So naturally, they requested a WordPower 60 Básico in Spanish for bilingual users. And they wanted the layout of the English and Spanish versions to be as consistent as possible to maximize the ease of motor plan. Now, who could say no to that? So back to the drawing board we went, and WordPower 60 Básico was born. But this project was not without challenges. The first was working with a language that is spoken over such a large geographical area for hundreds of years. So the expressions, and especially the nouns, can vary greatly from one country to another. To give you an example, I met a young man on an airplane who saw I was working on the Spanish vocabulary, and we started talking about how different the nouns are in different countries, and he told me a funny story. He's from Colombia, but he grew up watching television programs filmed in Mexico. He'd heard them talk about tortas de jamón. Jamón is ham, and in Colombia, a torta is a cake. So he spent his whole childhood wondering, why in the world do Mexicans put ham in their cakes? So he grew up, moved to the United States, and one day a friend of his from Mexico explained to him that a torta in Mexico is a type of sandwich. So he was 30 years old before he learned that a torta de jamón is just a ham sandwich, and that in actual fact, Mexicans do not put ham in their cakes. So this illustrates just how incredibly difficult it was to decide which nouns to use for various foods and other items. Now, for your information, just so you know, since so many augmented communicators who use WordPower live near the border between the United States and Mexico, if we had to decide, we often defaulted to nouns most commonly used in these areas. But one of the main things we would like to stress is this. If you see a noun in one of the categories, please don't think, oh, this is the correct word for this item. The correct word is the one that is familiar to the user of the device, the word used in his or her family and community. So it's not a question of whether you might need to change a noun. You will need to customize some nouns at some point. Fortunately, this is very easy to do, and Nancy's going to demonstrate that shortly. Now, one example of this diversity is the word car. I live in Texas, so here people say carro for car. Now, when I was a young adult learning Spanish, I went to Spain for the first time, and I was so proud of myself when I went to the rental car counter at the airport, and I said, "Quisiera alquilar un carro, por favor." Well, they all just died laughing. They were just hysterical, and they were like, "Ha, ha, ha, would you like a horse with that?" And so it slowly dawned on me that for them, a carro was a horse-drawn cart, not an automobile. That was my first lesson in the diversity of the Spanish language. So in WordPower, what we did with this, with auto, we just put the word auto, because even if a person uses coche or carro, they at least understand what an auto is, and again, it can easily be customized to the word most commonly used in their area. But the best example of an object for which there is no word that is understood by all Spanish speakers is a drinking straw. Now, as Lisa mentioned, I have a son with disability, and he drinks better with a straw. So we were traveling in the country of Panama. We started out on the Caribbean side of the country, and I asked for pitillo, which is the word I use for straw. All right, so the man informed me that the correct word was pajilla. So I thought, okay, now I know how to say a straw in Panama. Then we went over to the Pacific side. Now remember, Panama is an isthmus, a very narrow country, mind you, and I asked a man in a restaurant for a pajilla. He turned bright red and with a grave expression on his face explained to me that this was a very inappropriate word to use and I should never use it again. He said the word for straw is carrizo. Now, if you go to Mexico and in a restaurant and ask for a carrizo, they're going to have no idea what you're asking for because it's a popote in Mexico. So my solution after all this was just to carry a package of straws in my purse so I never had to ask for a straw again.
That's great.
So on the next slide, there are a few other examples that Nancy's going to demonstrate. So in most of Latin America, earrings are called aretes, but in Spain, they're called pendientes, and in Puerto Rico, they're called pantallas. So Nancy's going to show you how easy it is to make this change. So if you have a client from Spain and you want to change it from arete to pendiente, she's going to show you how to do that.
Okay, here's the earring. So I'm just going to choose the key and I'm going to edit it. And you have the message, the label and the message. And so just going to change that. And when you change the label, the message changes automatically.
Pendiente.
Same thing with anteojos. We figured that even if you call them lentes or gafas, you would understand what anteojos means, and then you could change it to whatever you would commonly use in your area. Okay, so the next challenge we faced was the grammatical differences between English and Spanish. For example, the dreaded verb conjugations. So many verb tenses, forms, and moods. It gives us English speakers a headache just thinking about it. Plus, each pronoun has its own form of the verb. So let's take a look at this on the next slide. So in English, we just say I eat, you eat, they eat, easy, right? In Spanish, you can see that yo como, each one has a different form. Yo como, tú comes, él, ella, usted come, ellos, ellas, ustedes comen, nosotros comemos, vosotros coméis. So that's the each form for the, so you can see from this that each pronoun has its own verb form. Also, all nouns are either masculine or feminine, and adjectives, the adjectives that modify the nouns also have to be masculine or feminine. In addition, if a noun is plural, the plural form of the adjective must be used. So this made the programming a real challenge for Nancy, and hats off to her. But I think she's permanently traumatized from programming all of those verb forms, especially the irregular verbs, right, Nancy?
Absolutely. It took a long time.
Okay, and so there's a little illustration of the masculine and feminine words for cat. Now, the plural you, of course, there is no plural you in English, so we make up stuff like y'all and you guys and you guys, yous guys. But in Spanish, there is a plural you. The formal is ustedes, and the informal is vosotros, and it's very commonly used in Spain. Now, as far as the design, you'll see the pronouns in yellow on the left, just like in English. And remember, we talked about the fact that each pronoun has its own verb form, but you have to have some way to get to those proper verb forms. So you can think of the pronouns as gateways to the correct verb forms. So here you can see you say yo, and then you get the proper form for yo. Yo como, yo trabajo, yo vengo, etc. Same thing for tú. Tú hablas, tú lees, tú miras. Él busca, él compra, él habla. Ellas piensan. Nosotros hablamos.
Pam, I'll just quickly show how that works too. All right.
Yeah.
Just everybody's clear on that. So as Pam explained, when I select Joe, then all of the verb forms automatically appear to go with that. And then you'll notice that the pronoun is not, it just opens to the verb, because in Spanish, it's not necessary to speak the pronoun. But if someone wants to speak this pronoun, they hit the key twice.
Thomas. Toma. Tomamos.
Okay, Pam, do you want me to do this slide?
Sure.
Okay. So as Pam said, when we started off doing this, we wanted to keep the paradigms and the patterns that had been used in English, and we wanted to make communication quick and fast. And so some of the things that we put on the main page of all three vocabularies were quiero, me gusta, tengo, and me siento. So quiero, of course, means I want. So when I select quiero, you see the verb forms change to the infinitive form. So I want to play.
Jugar. Quiero tomar
I want
una foto.
to take a picture.
Quiero tomar refresco.
Have a drink. Me gusta, of course, in English we say I like. In Spanish, it's more like it pleases me, me gusta. So again, when I say me gusta,
Gusta.
everything again is in the infinitive form. And if I select X1, then this page of verbs is also in the infinitive form. And Tengo literally means I have. So just in Spanish and in French, when you want to say I'm hungry, it's like I have hunger, I have thirst. So
Sed. Tengo frío. Tengo hambre.
and me siento, I feel.
Me.
So here you have, if I'm a female speaking, I would use this form, and this would take me directly to the feminine adjectives. So,
Muy bien. Me siento muy bien. Me siento
and then these would be the masculine forms.
emocionado.
We can see how that works with the feminine too.
Me siento emocionada.
So there's the feminine. So these four words or phrases appear on all of the on all the Spanish WordPower vocabularies. There's also something, the favorites or the cosas favoritas in Spanish and in English. And so when I select quiero,
Quiero
you have a link that takes you to a page of favorites. So these are things that are just, we gave examples of what we thought people might want to include, but they can certainly, this page is meant to be customized. So
ir a la... montar a caballo. Quiero ir a nadar y montar a caballo.
or you can talk about what you like to
Me
do.
gustaría.
Oops, let me try that again.
Me gusta andar en mi bicicleta. Escuchar música. Me gusta andar en mi bicicleta y escuchar música.
And another thing that we did, I know this was Pam's, let's see if this is here.
Quiero leer un libro.
Okay, so let me show that again. So if I want to say I want to read a book,
Quiero leer un libro.
after you select that, you have a link. So I could go directly to the reading page and have a specific book.
Escuchar música.
And when I say listen to music, I could select this key,
Quiero leer un libro, escuchar música.
and it would take me right to the music page, and I could say what kind of music I like. So we encourage you to use that feature. I know, Pam, you use that a lot with your son, don't you? The favorites page?
Yes, because he has motor issues, so it's so much easier for him to just go and pick the item that he wants as opposed to having to it reduces the navigation necessary to ask for what he wants to do.
Right. Okay. Okay. Okay, another feature that is in all of the Spanish vocabularies is that you have direct links from verbs to related categories. So when we first released this, we used the verb beber to drink, but it was really explained over and over to us, pointed out that it would be much better to have tomar to take. So now, as you can see, we have tomar. So if I wanted to say,
Estoy tomando.
then you have a link that will get you there.
Licuado. Estoy tomando licuado. Quiero tomar té frío. Por favor. Quiero tomar té frío, por favor.
Okay, and then also to eat.
Estoy comiendo.
And then here's your link.
Pizza. Por favor. Estoy comiendo pizza, por favor.
And jugar.
gustaría jugar con camiones. Me gustaría jugar con camiones.
And then you'll notice when you select jugar, you have links to games, toys, and sports. And also when you use the verb to read, you have you could just say
Un libro.
but
Quiero leer.
you have a direct link that again takes you to the books page where you could have lists of favorite books to read. And escuchar also.
Escucho. iTunes. Escucho iTunes.
And then, well, I think we're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to talk more about the social page in a little bit, so I don't think I'll do that quite yet. Okay, so the hallmark features of WordPower Español are they consist of core vocabulary, and the words are arranged by grammatical type with color coding. There's a robust fringe vocabulary in addition to core, because we all know how important core is, but we also know you need fringe vocabulary to go along with that. As much as possible, there is consistency and setup and design between all the vocabulary options. So the color coding, the arrangement with the pronouns on the left and the helping verbs and the regular verbs is consistent. And as Pam pointed out, that's especially true between the WordPower 60 basic file and the WordPower 60 Español Básico file. I just showed there are direct links to related categories, and that the verb forms automatically agree with pronouns. There are, in order to allow the amount of vocabulary that I wanted to have available with just only a limited number of cells, I always use the concepts of logical next words and word completion, and you'll see how that works. And then there's automatic grammatical forms. So you probably already noticed, hopefully, that when you say yo estoy, that you get the verbing form of that verb. When you say quiero, it's followed by infinitive, me gusta, and so on. There's smart punctuation, and that just means that when you're putting a sentence together, when you end the sentence with the period or the question mark or the exclamation point, it speaks the sentence and then capitalizes the next sentence so that you don't always have to be clear in your display between sentences. And there are literacy supports, spelling, phonics, early books, and writing. And on the WordPower Básico files, the 48 and 60, there's core vocabulary available within the category pages, and we'll see how that works. Okay, so this is the WordPower 48 Español file. And I think Pam's going to talk a little bit about what's unique about this file.
Yes. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. And as we discussed earlier, this is the one that's designed to meet the needs of individuals with intact cognitive and linguistic abilities. And so you can see on this slide the verb forms that are in red are the ones that are unique to this particular vocabulary file. They are not included in the Básico forms. So the imperfect verb form is used when talking about repeated, usual, or habitual actions in the past, especially things that happen over and over again. So, for example, I would say in English, on Saturdays, I played baseball with my neighbor. It was a continuing action. Los sábados yo jugaba béisbol con mi vecino. But to talk about single completed actions that took place at specific points in time, then I would use the preterite or the past tense, which is included in all the vocabularies. So that would be, on Saturday, I played baseball with my neighbor. El sábado jugué béisbol con mi vecino. All right, so the next one is the conditional. Again, another one we don't have in English. So that would be like, I would go to Spain, but I don't have a passport. Iría a España, pero no tengo un pasaporte. And then future, this is the only vocabulary that includes the true future form of the verb. So in Spanish, that would be iré a España este verano. Now, in the other basic versions, we don't use the true future tense, but the future tense is implied by saying, I will go to Spain. Voy a ir a España.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way you get to those, if you go to the next slide, you can see the way you get to those. Oh, here we go. More verb forms. So the way you get to those is, for example, if you say yo como, then at the top in green on the top row, you have the options to say yo comí, yo comía, yo comería, or yo comeré. So that's the thing that's different, that's unique to that particular file.
And that's what was challenging about this, is that we determined the regular verb, and the regular verbs had similar endings for the preterite, the imperfect, but there were so many imperfect, irregular verbs, which required separate pages to be generated for a lot of the verbs. So anyway, it took a long time, but we got through it. And on this particular vocabulary, all of these verb forms are available. So this slide just shows the present participle when you say yo estoy, and you get the present participle form of the verb. And then if you select acciones, and I'll show that, Pam.
Estoy.
So we see that present progressive form, and then when I hit this key, then all of these verbs are also in that form. Okay. So the first, is there anything else you want to say about that, Pam?
No.
Okay. So the first Basico file, as Pam said, was the 48 Basico file, which is a simplified version. It didn't have as much complexity in terms of verb forms. And then soon after we did that, we just realized we need to do something that would correspond directly for those bilingual speakers who wanted to go back and forth between. So we're not going to talk too much about the 48 Español Básico today, because most everything that we're saying about the 60 Español Básico would apply to this file. Okay. So 4 years ago, boy, that's hard to believe it was that long ago, but I made a decision to develop a new vocabulary in English. It was called WordPower 60 Basic. And I worked with a team of individuals, and we were trying to really make this vocabulary work for beginning communicators, as well as students that might be up to the high school level. So, but we wanted to be sure that beginning communicators' needs would be met. So we made some decisions, like we were going to have more symbol support. So assuming that someone may not have the literacy. So you can see that there are symbols on, on these pronouns where I might have left them off on other vocabularies. And there was also a decision made to have yes and no put on the main page, because so many individuals on the autism spectrum were using the vocabulary, and they seemed to really benefit from that. So then Pam and I got together, and we were looking at the design of this, and as I'm sure everyone knows here that's on this conference call, how different the Spanish language is in a lot of ways, but we did our best to lay out the main page and all the pages so that they corresponded as closely as we could to the English. We also wanted to think about people using a key guard, and we love the profiles feature, which is now available for both the NovaChat platform and the TouchChat. So I'm going to demonstrate the profile feature right now. I'm going to jump from this WordPower 48 Spanish file, and then before we started today, I made a profile for the 60 Español Básico. So I'm just going to select this key, and then it takes me right over there. And then also there's a profile here that I can go to the English version, and it changes my synthesizer.
I am ready to go. I am ready to go.
And here's my profile. It goes back to Spanish.
Estoy lista para ir. Estoy lista para ir.
Okay, so that's the advantage of the profile. And the profile is something that you have to set up, because the profile saves all of your settings. So once you get your settings the way you like them in your Spanish, you get the voice you like, you get the input settings, then you would define that as a setting, as a profile, and then you can put those links in. Okay, so this slide shows you can really look and see the similarity between the two setups. And what I thought I would do is, yes?
Would you mind demonstrating how to create a profile?
Sure.
That's
sure.
a big interest. So. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Okay, I'll go, why don't I go to, I'll go to the English file.
Switch to the document camera.
Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. So I'm in the WordPower 25 vocabulary right now. I think I already have I'm going to go to WordPower 20. Okay. Okay. So I want to create and let's make sure. So our synthesizer is the way we like it. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to go to settings and I'm going to go to profiles and I'm going to create a new profile and I'm going to call it, and I can say female if I want to. Okay, and I've just saved that. So now I have a profile for this vocabulary. Now I already have a profile for the WordPower 60 Basic. So I'm going to program a key that will take me over there. So first I'm going to remove this button. I'm going to create a button. And I'm going to say, actually, I'll go to the Spanish file. And I'm going to go over to my actions. And I don't really need this, so I'm going to remove that. And I'm going to add select profile. And these are profiles that I've already set up. So I'm going to choose this one, Spanish. Save. And if I wanted to, I could put a symbol. Okay. So now I'm on my 20 file, I'm using
I want you.
this synthesizer, and I select this.
Hablo español. Hablo español.
That make sense? Is that good, Lisa?
Yes, and I included the instructions on how to create profiles in the materials section in the toolbar.
Okay.
So they're in English and in Spanish, and you will also get them in your follow-up email as well. And I'm going to find the link for TouchChat, and I'll put it in the chat window.
Yeah, and I know one thing that a lot of people are really happy about is a couple of years ago, all this functionality was added to TouchChat too. It used to be that there were profiles in TouchChat, but you couldn't program a key, and now you can. So, okay. So I'm going to show my editor now, so you guys can see the editor, and I'm just going to do some sentences going back and forth in English and in Spanish. So I want to watch with you. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Okay. In Spanish.
Quiero ver contigo. Quiero ver contigo.
Okay. I'm ready to go.
Estoy listo para ir.
And you see it automatically added the para, because after listo or lista, you do that. So you can also say,
Estoy lista para ir. Estoy lista para ir.
works both ways. Okay. I am really hungry. Let me click this way here.
Tengo mucha hambre.
If I hit this key, I have the option
Tengo mucha hambre.
hitting the exclamation point. Good job. You see, here are the logical next words. I think I love having this because when I work with my students, I'm always telling them, you did a good job. In Spanish.
Bien hecho. Bien hecho.
In front.
Delante. Detrás.
And let's see, we'll go back here. So you might notice that when you clear your display in English, when you select you, then all of these things happen. You is followed by verbs. But if I say with you, the you becomes an object pronoun. So that actually is a logical next, because it's the word acts in a different way. And in Spanish, you see we have me, te, but when you say con, these change into
Contigo.
with you.
Conmigo.
Okay. So that's what this slide is about, just to show you that there's similar functionality on the main page. And obviously the design is similar, the colors key is in the same place. We put and in the same place. I remember us talking about that and discussing that a lot because it was out of, and is here because it's at the beginning of the alphabet. Of course, Y is at the end, but we chose to design it this way just so that the vocabularies would be as similar as we could make them. Okay. So we've already seen a lot of these. These are just examples of logical next words in Spanish. Let me show the second one, I need. So when I say, and this, of course, is true in English also, but when I say necesito, here are some things that we just put in as examples. So I need help.
Necesito
I need a hug.
un abrazo. Necesito.
And then there are blanks, so you can fill those in and add more or change these.
Usar el baño. Necesito usar el baño.
Okay. Let's see. When we say un, we get
Poco.
so you can say a little. When we say no, we have the logical next word, no say, and
No.
no I. You'll notice up here when you say un,
Una vez.
and when you say me,
Mi
you get my turn and my favorite.
favorito. Lo
Another one I just want to point out to you is lo siento.
siento.
I'm sorry. And then we also have, these are just examples of word completion. So this was kind of something that was really interesting to program, and the software that the Saltillo products allowed me to do this. So again, those of you that speak Spanish know that when you want to say help me,
Ayuda.
it actually comes together.
Ayúdame.
So even though you're selecting two keys, they end up being together. And I've already shown contigo, conmigo, because that becomes a double hit. Tell me. So again, it becomes one word. And Pam and I, we spent a lot of time discussing these, and I don't know if you have anything you want to say about this, Pam, but we decided to use some of these verbs in the imperative form so that you could say, like, read me a book.
Un libro. Dime, léeme un libro. Ven. Acá. Ven. Aquí.
Come here. Okay, the next thing I want to do is show a video that was made a couple of years ago by Apple, and they did a series of commercials showing off how their software and their devices help people with disabilities. So this features a young woman that lives in Atlanta. Her name is Mira, and she's using TouchChat, and she's using WordPower. I hope you guys can hear this. Wait a second. I'm going to start this over. Okay.
No, look.
Yeah.
Remember when? Mama taught me to cook a casserole.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Before people talked about me, mocked me. People now know I have a lot to say. There's another place you've been. Alaska. We have a good team this year. Awesome. Sweet tea. Tennis. California summer's orange together
Okay. Whoops, that was kind of thrilling when that came out. Okay, Lisa, can you hear me? Okay. I'm hoping you can.
Yes, and I was trying to get to my screen to unmute because I was doing the questions.
Sorry.
So
I just wanted to ask because I plugged in that external microphone. I wanted to make sure.
yeah, it worked perfectly.
Okay, great.
There is a question about being able to say mi favorita instead of, so to make it feminine and instead of favorito. And then if you can say, so from the home screen, you can say eso. Can you, is there a toggle to esa?
Eso.
Well, it toggles to esa.
Yeah.
Uh,
So in extra words, that's where yeah.
That's where we put it. Yeah.
Okay.
So in extra words,
And,
esa.
and then how about favorite?
So many of those words. Well, Pam may want to explain that a little bit more, but we did, let's see.
Color.
Pam, can you remember how we did some of those? Let's see if I'm going to go over to.
Rana.
So see how Rana affected favorita? So
Right, so you said mi mascota favorita es.
Rana. Favorita. Es.
But as a regular, just coming from favorito, from me, we just did mi favorito.
Favorito. Favorito.
Because I would have had to take another spot. So that's how we did that.
Okay.
That's a great question. And we talked a lot about that when we were developing it.
Okay, so the question, can you say mi película favorita es, I wish I was a better Spanish speaker, but so the movie película.
Okay, let me go over to here.
Yeah.
Favorita. Es.
So on the individual pages, when the nouns were feminine, I added a modifier to them and they affect this key.
Yeah.
So you can always just say mi favorito, but you could say
Mi película favorita es.
okay.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, Pam, do you want to say anything else about that?
No, I think you've explained it very well.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right. The next thing we want to talk about are some of the new things that are available in WordPower. Some of the new vocabulary features, some of the literacy supports, alternate access. I hope hope you already have a good feel for what profiles are. Voice assist, file management, and Saltillo supports. So some of the things that I've done recently for English, Pam and I got together a few months ago and made sure all of these new things are also in the Spanish files. So one of them is to add more sensory vocabulary. And I had gotten lots of requests to put a page of sensory toys, add sensory toys. And so I did that first in English, and now I have it in Spanish. And I've also added emoji supports. And in the Saltillo calendar for 2020, it was all about emotions and sensory. And so, again, I worked with Lisa Tim and Rena Carney to make sure that the WordPower vocabularies supported what they were doing with their calendar. So this is a screenshot of the sensory toys page that is available. And this is definitely a page that's meant to be customized. We did our best to be respectful for the people that spent the time writing out their requests, but of course every classroom is going to be different. So this is how the sensory page appears in Spanish, and this is how it is in English. And so you can see, hopefully, one of the challenges, hopefully you can just see right here, is that in Spanish it was important to have all of these keys, all of these 5 keys right here. And in English, you didn't need quite so many. So oftentimes I couldn't fit quite as much on the Spanish page as I could on the English. Like water table, I guess, does not appear on this. Okay. And so I'll just show how that works. So it's available from the groups page. You have a link to sensory, and you also can say,
Estoy jugando.
You have a link right here on the toys page. Oh, actually, the water table is there. Okay.
La mesa de agua. Estoy jugando con la mesa de agua.
Okay. And then the next thing I want to just talk a little bit about is adding emojis. So it used to be that when you would say me siento, it would take you to the feelings page, but it was a visit. It popped right out. Now you stay there, and I'll show you why.
Me siento feliz.
So if I want to, I can add an emoji there, just for fun, and just because this is one of the things that everybody's using emojis these days.
Me siento feliz.
Okay.
Me siento muy triste.
You'll notice also that the word porque is here, so that you can say, I'm feeling sad because.
¿Por qué?
And then I've also added emojis on the phrases or the social page. So these 2 rows are just designed to be sort of vocabulary conversational maintainers. So when I say que bien, if I want, I can add some emojis.
Ni modo. No.
So all of these keys here
No quiero, basta ya, súper, súper.
have emojis that go with them. You can use them or not. And then, of course, you'll notice that you have the ability to go into texting from the social page.
And may I add that we just posted a video on the WordPower Facebook page, a video about the emojis, using them in texting and so forth, if you need more information on that.
I'm glad you said that. Pam did a great job on that. She gave a lot of real life examples on that video.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And so this is sort of a newly designed, just an edited social page. And again, this kind of goes along with the English vocabulary. Okay, then the next thing I want to talk a little bit about is a key called, in English, My Day Was. I have a client that is in his, I think he's in his late 20s or early 30s, and he has all kinds of activities. He has a job, he has people that take him places every day. So every day his mother would say to him at the end of the day, how was your day? And she wasn't getting very far. So I had built this thing for him and really liked it. So I ended up putting it in my vocabulary. So, so now on the social page, you have a link here. And so if someone says, how was your day?
Hoy me fue. Bien. Hoy me fue. Muy bien. Hoy me fue. Regular. ¿Qué tal tu día?
And then how did you feel?
Me sentí cansado.
Who did you talk to?
Hablé con mi abuela.
And so it always takes you back to this page. And you can use the yo or nosotros pronouns. What did you eat?
Comí pizza.
Where did you eat?
Comí en McDonald's.
And what did you learn? So this key, I couldn't do this so that it would pop right back, but when you say,
Aprendí sobre
and then it just takes you to the groups page, so you can say whatever, if someone was at school, what they learned about.
océano. Océanos. Aprendí sobre océanos.
So you'll find that on the social frases page.
And there is also a video on Facebook about this feature as well.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Pam. There's also new sensory vocabulary added to the body page, and I'll show you how that works.
Me duele. Cabeza. Me duele cabeza. Me duele la cabeza. Me duele la cabeza. Me duele mi estómago. Me duele mi estómago.
And then for proprioceptive awareness, if someone wants to say, I dance with my legs, I feel with my hands, I smell with my nose, now you can say those things on this page. And these things weren't available before. So
Bueno. Con mi nariz. Vuelo con mi nariz. Balanceo con mi pierna. Mi
okay, I should have, let's try that one again.
balanceo con mis pierna. Piernas. Balanceo con mis piernas.
Okay, so just so you know that's there. Pam, do you want to say anything else about that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, and then literacy supports. Hopefully you guys know that these things are available. Phonics pages, they're all available for English and Spanish, different keyboard options, early books, story concepts, texting, and saving and sharing text. So these are the phonics pages. And these are some keyboard options. This is the regular QWERTY keyboard option with word prediction. This is a more basic keyboard that someone might need that isn't quite ready for all of that on a keyboard. And this is an alphabetical keyboard arrangement. And when you open the spelling page, you have a link to a simplified version. And there's a simplified version of numbers page, and then there's also a link here to get to the phonics page. I think there were 11 English books that were included with WordPower 60 Basic, and I was able to find 6 of them that were also written in Spanish. And so those books are included there. So these are the English books and these are the Spanish books. And so to find those, you just go to the lectura, and there's a link here.
Oso pardo. Oso pardo. Oso pardo.
And there are 2 versions of Brown Bear, Brown Bear.
Oso pardo, oso pardo, oso pardo.
So these,
No, David.
so these books are all designed to, in addition to just participating in literary experiences at school, they also, the vocabulary is programmed in the same location as it is on the main vocabulary. So it's also designed to help teach vocabulary, teach using the device. Okay, and then lots of people want to put their own books. So you'll notice that you also have, when you go to this page, you have links. So this is just a template so that you can add your own vocabulary with just a few words already added. Okay, this is something that I just did recently. There's also something called story concepts in English, and now it's available in Spanish. So if you go to that same reading page, you have a link here. Sorry. If you go to the reading page, you have a link that takes you to story concepts. And then you also have a link to character traits. So, and there's 2 pages of adjectives. So if somebody is reading a book and they want to discuss what they think, what character traits the person has, I would then want to go to the feminine.
Bonita. Ella es bonita. Él es muy desagradable. Él es muy desagradable.
So those are just screenshots of that. Okay, the next thing I want to just talk about a little bit is texting. And I guess first I have it listed for the TouchChat. So now I'm going to put my iPad down. do this. Okay.
Estoy terminando. Estoy terminando.
Oh, actually, and I'm going to add one more thing. I'm going to say,
Me siento muy bien.
and I'll just add a few emojis. And then I'm going to hit texting, and you'll see that the message along with the emojis have come up, and then I just start to spell, and I can send that texting. So it's very easy to do. And you see the text just came in on my iPad. And of course, you can also do texting with the NovaChat. The difference is that with the NovaChat, you have to have an Android phone that is hooked up to the NovaChat, that is linked up, and you use an Arrow Text app. And then if you do that, the texting capabilities are actually more sophisticated, I would say, on the NovaChat than they are on the TouchChat. And I know, Pam, your son uses that, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. And I would like to add from my personal experience that in his case, texting has added a whole new dimension to his communication opportunities. He can communicate with teachers, friends, relatives, caregivers. Now, of course, it was a process to teach him the concept of texting, but now he absolutely loves it. He gets so excited when he gets a message, and he can't wait to answer back. So I can't say enough about how wonderful this texting feature is for him.
Well, that's great. That's very great. Okay. Lisa, do you want to say anything else about the texting? I know I just kind of didn't say about that, but.
So I typed into the message window that, so TouchChat will use the iMessage capabilities of iOS platforms. You need to have Wi-Fi, or it has to be connected. It needs to be part of a phone plan in order for it to work. And then on the Android side, you need that Android phone that acts as the carrier. So it has to be an active line, and there are texting pages. So it will read back to you as well. So you can tap on the button when someone sends you a text back, you'll get that text to speech option available to you as well. And so those buttons would populate with the speech. So you can see where the question mark is in the speech display bar. She's not connected to a phone, but if she were connected to a phone, you would see all those text messages populate, and you would also have your phone contacts located within that file as well.
Great. That was
one more thing too. I'm sorry. There's also a video on your Facebook page about texting as well with the NovaChat.
Yeah.
If anyone wants more demonstration.
Okay, great. Okay. This is just something else I wanted to demonstrate quickly. And this is just, let's see. So saving text. So I love to play with my iPad. Okay, so we'll just generate that sentence.
Me encanta jugar con mi iPad. Me encanta jugar con mi iPad.
So if I hit the spelling key and then choose this key in the corner, actually I already did that sentence, but that's all right. Now I'm going to save this. I'll save it right here. Okay. And then I can come back later and I've got that sentence.
Me encanta jugar con mi iPad.
So I know sometimes people use this to save words, save spelling words. If they know they're going to be talking to somebody and they want to save their message, they can use this feature. And then if you clear your display and you save, you're saving nothing, that's an easy way to clear it. And you also have this available here. So this page just is, there's several pages set up for this. One boy that I used to work with was in a play, and he programmed all of his lines on this page from the play. We talked about sharing via texting. We also have a lot of more enhanced features for sharing text up to Facebook, and so if I wanted to share that message, I could go to groups. Oops. If I wanted to share that message I could hit this key, and so these are all the different ways that you could share. Now I don't have Facebook on here because I don't have Facebook on this tablet, but you can see that. And then of course you can also share using the TouchChat app. So we have a little bit more time. I just wanted to talk briefly about the fact that with the TouchChat app using the iPad Pro now, you have facial recognition feature where it follows your head movements, and that's a really awesome new feature. And then if you're using the Chat Fusion, you can access the device using head pointing with the head pointer. We already talked about profiles. Okay, voice assist. WordPower also has pages that would allow someone to use Hey Siri and Alexa. And so I have a video showing that.
Hey Siri, it's Alexa, so I have to.
Okay.
At 7 a.m. My mom set for 7 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you for creating Alexa.
So that's just an example of Mira, again, using her device with Alexa. The next few slides talk about new ways that you can save your files. And it used to be, when I first started out, I was using the chat editor on my computer, and I was saving things to iShare to download them to my iPad. And then I was just linking directly with a cable to my NovaChat or Chat Fusion. There are more ways available now. I still use iShare some, but I also use Dropbox, which is a very convenient way if you're working on your chat editor on your computer to save files, and then you can add them to TouchChat. You can also back up files with Google Drive and AirDrop. And then you can, something that I think some people don't know is that you can also back up a file using your chat editor and email it. And then if you can open that email on the iPad, and then when you see that attachment, you can bring that email, you can bring that file directly into TouchChat. Now, Lisa, can you do that also with a NovaChat also? Could you open an email on a NovaChat and bring the file in?
No, you cannot do that. You can put it onto a flash drive, though.
Yes, so that's another new thing that's available, and just plug the flash drive into the NovaChat or the Chat Fusion.
Yes.
Okay. So this screen just shows my website, Inman Innovations, and there's a manual that Lisa Tim was very helpful with. And the manual has all the vocabularies, and there are hyperlinks. So if you are working on the 48 Espanol, you can just hit the hyperlink. It'll take you to that part of the manual. You could print that out. And it's not, it's really meant to be a tutorial, a guide that you can, it steps you through the vocabularies. And this is just a list of some of the other resources that are available on the Saltillo website, implementation resources. And Lisa, do you want to say anything about this?
So Explore AAC was a website that was developed about a year and a half ago, and it is basically a very simple website to get someone started to learn about AAC. So learning the terminology, learning why someone might use AAC, and then there are some user stories there. So, and they are PRC and Saltillo supported devices. So it's just a basic website for someone brand new. It's really designed thinking about parents in mind, trying to get basic information. It's not in Spanish right now. I knew that was coming. We have been exploring the option. There are ways in your browser to translate things, and so that has been something we've been exploring to make that more automatic.
Okay. Okay. I want to leave a little time for questions, but I can't say enough about these calendars. They're just wonderful, and you can download them also, can't you, Lisa, if you don't have one?
Yep, they are on the Saltillo website under the implementation and chat corner. And you can either download the entire calendar or a month at a time. So you'll see if you go into each tab of the calendar supports, it provides you the pages of the calendar month by month or the entire thing. There are also supplemental supports, again in English. My dream is to have them in both English and in Spanish. Need like 48 hours in a day.
Yeah, really. And then Lisa's done these really great flip books that you can print out, and you can have low-tech supports for the WordPower vocabularies. And
so, can I say something about the resources?
Yeah.
So the resources that are in the materials, they're actually on the Saltillo website too, under the implementation tab, and you'll see over on the right-hand side that there are the Spanish supports that are there. So not only are they in your materials, they're always available on the website. This recording will be available. It'll be on our YouTube channel, and eventually it gets onto the Saltillo website as well. Can you show where there's a manual communication board? So one of the questions that was earlier on was why there isn't a 20 location WordPower file, and I had responded back and said, because of the number, the conjugations, what's required in order to create the Spanish file doesn't really lend itself to less than the basically 48 buttons, and that's why we started where we started.
Right, yeah.
But the other thing that I know that I have had some conversations about with various people has been going to the groups and the tools for WordPower and going to the manual communication boards and being able to, you have voice output, you have some beginning things. So not only are they available for printing, but you can also have the voice output in the infinitive. But there are a couple different, variations to this. So.
Is this what you mean, Lisa?
Yeah. So you get a little bit of that, but the low tech board has been a nice place to start. And you can hide on this. This is kind of that beginning. If you wanted to only have your beginning words, you might be able to start with this, and it's easy to hide on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think that was, and then someone else's question. Well, are you done to the slides pretty much?
Yeah.
One of the questions was if probably Pam, maybe you can talk about the switch between English and Spanish. With children being able to switch between the two languages, how natural that is. I had explained my experience has been that I've seen success, but it also is very dependent on the communication partners creating the opportunity for both languages and teaching that ability to switch between them. So I don't know if you guys have experience to talk about there.
Let me just say, I don't really, I haven't done it personally myself, but I've talked to a lot of bilingual therapists, and what Sharon Hendrickson was explaining to me is she does use both files at school, but she might use mainly English, but then a lot of her students, their families only speak Spanish. So in some cases, they're mainly using English at school and then Spanish at home. But I think she's also going back and forth. But I haven't done bilingual therapy myself, so I don't know. Pam, I don't know what you have to say about that.
Well, I don't know if this answers the question, but I can say as a parent that in the home environment provides so many naturally occurring opportunities for communication. So a big part of that is going to be educating the parents to use it to thinking about all the different ways that they can utilize the device at home and help their child to become a better communicator. Mm-hmm. Especially, of course, if the parents are Spanish speaking, then they have that available and they'll be able to have the file in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that...
Are there any questions, Lisa?
I think that we've either answered them. People have loved, the books and the updates that you've made, the sensory pages, the writing. So I added comments kind of, either what I already know or what I knew you would have told them. So I think we've pretty much answered all the questions. So
okay, great.
Getting right to the end of our time together. So I think there should be an ending slide as well. So yeah, we mostly wanted to say thanks for joining us. Make sure that you have downloaded the materials. You will get them in the follow-up email. When you exit this training, there will be a feedback form. And remember to submit your ASHA documents if you're user registry within the 2 weeks, and include the title and the date of the session in your email so that we know where to give you credit for it. Thank you, Nancy and Pam. This was great. I love the camaraderie between both of you and everything that you've developed. You have these great examples, and I think it was a really great presentation. Thank you to participants.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. We appreciate so much you're helping us.
Yes, thank you for putting it together.
It's been great. I'm so excited to provide these supports and looking forward to more. So,
okay, thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I hope you have a lovely evening.
Okay, thanks, Lisa.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.